Hello, everybody. My name is Darby Miller. I'm one of the currently 7 active remote viewers of the Hellfire Remote Viewing Club. And today we're going to take a look at a project that we recently completed on the Council of 9. Now, for this project, I didn't do any remote viewing sessions. Instead, I was the tasker. And in this case, that means that I chose what the other group of 6 remote viewers was going to take a look at. I wrote a target coordinate and I sent that target coordinate to the remote viewers. The 6 remote viewers had no idea what the target was. They did the target blind, and they produced a total of 20 remote viewing sessions. And we're going to go over the main themes that came up in their session data in this video. Before we do that, we'll give you a brief overview of the target, the Council of 9, some background information about it, and why I chose that target. At the end of the video, you'll see some screenshots of the 6 one-on-one videos that I did with each of the remote viewers, where we did a deep dive into the entirety of their data. And those videos are going to be linked below this video in the description. And you can journey with the remote viewers and go through their sessions page by page and take a look at what they got through the remote viewers' eyes as they discuss their experiences of the session. And we have some interesting conversations as to what it might all mean. Every time we do a project for the Hellfire Remote Viewing Club, one of the members gets a chance to be the tasker, gets a chance to choose what we're going to take a look at. And here are some past projects that we've completed. There was the Frederick Valentiche disappearance. This was a pilot that disappeared off the coast of Australia in 1978, and it appears a UFO was involved in that disappearance. We remote viewed the Roswell silicon chips. This was a piece of technology that was said to be recovered from the crashed Roswell UFOs, and we remote viewed that technology and its effect on humanity. And we also did a project on the Tic Tac UAP videos, which were released by the Navy in 2020. If you want to take a look at any of those past projects, you can go to YouTube and just search for Hellfire Remote Viewing Club and the name of the project. So the target coordinate for the Council of 9 project was 7526-1834. That's just a coordinate that was created in a random number generator that I found online. And I wrote this tasking statement down on a piece of paper. Actually, it's a word processing document, but you can see here the tasking statement was: the remote viewer will provide data about the group known as the Council of 9, also known as the Council of Saturn, and their current activities and objectives as it relates to humans on Earth. I also wrote down my biases about the project. And in this case, what I wrote for my bias was: I expect some of the data to correspond to information regarding the Council of 9/Saturn found in the Law of One books published by LL Research. And we'll get into that information on the next slide. So that was the tasking statement. That's what I had on my end. On the remote viewer's end, all they had was the target coordinate, 7526-1834. So let's talk a little bit about the target, the Council of 9. I was first introduced to the idea of a group known as the Council of 9 through a body of trans-channeled information commonly referred to as the Law of One, or raw material. The Law of One material is a collection of 106 trans-channeling sessions that were conducted during the years 1981 through 1984. The material is published and maintained by LL Research, and you can find more about them and get all of the Law of One material at llresearch.org. During these channeling sessions, Carla Ruckert, who is known as the instrument, would go into a trance state and depart her body, and a group of beings that go by the name of Ra would speak through her. Carla was completely unconscious during this trance state, and she would have to be told what occurred after the sessions were complete. Don Elkins, the questioner, would ask Ra questions during these sessions, and Jim McCarty, the scribe, would sit in a space of meditation, sending Carla energetic support during these physically taxing sessions, and afterwards he would transcribe them. The Council of Nine appears to have been mentioned in other books as well. In the Law of One Material, Ross says that Mark Probert, who wrote The Magic Bag, brought through some information from the Council of Nine. They also mention Andrea Puharich, who wrote the book Yuri, as also being a source of information from the Nine as they go by in that book. I recently completed reading Briefing for the Landing on Planet Earth by Stuart Holroyd, and that book documents some channeling sessions that were done with Andrea Puharich, Phyllis Schlemmer, who was the instrument or the channeler in this case, and Sir John Whitmore, who accompanied them as well. So it was another trio, really, who channeled a group of beings that go by the name of Nine. And Phyllis has her own book entitled The Only Planet of Choice, and that book also contains channeled messages from a group that goes by the Nine. So for the rest of the background information about the Council of Nine in this video, we're going to stick to the Law of One Material, as it was really the main impetus for me choosing the Council of Nine as a target. I'm going to read some excerpts from the Law of One Material. These are excerpts that I retrieved from lawofone.info, which is a website that is a searchable database for the Law of One Material. You can go there and search for any term and see if it comes up and see what Ra had to say about what you're searching for. In this case, I searched for Council of Nine, Council of Saturn, and I'm just going to read a handful of the entries that came up. These are by no means all of what Ra says about the Council of Nine, but what I want to do is give you some background information that I think will provide some context as you go through our session data that the remote viewers created. So the first entry we're going to read here is a question from Don Elkins to Ra. It happened in session 7. And Don says, I have a question here, I believe, about that council from Jim. Who are the members and how does the council function? And Ra says, I am Ra. The members of the council are representatives from the Confederation and from those vibratory levels of your inner planes bearing responsibility for your third density. Skipping ahead a little bit, Ra says, in number, the council that sits in constant session, though varying in its members by means of balancing, which takes place what you would call irregularly, is 9. That is the session council. To back up this council, there are 24 entities which offer their services as requested. These entities faithfully watch and have been called the Guardians. The council operates by means of what you would call telepathic contact with the oneness or unity of the 9, the distortions blending harmoniously so that the law of one prevails with ease. When a need for thought is present, the council retains the distortion complex of this need, balancing it as described, and then recommends what it considers as appropriate action. This includes 1. The duty of admitting social memory complexes to the Confederation, 2. Offering aid to those who are unsure how to aid the social memory complex requesting aid in a way consonant with both the call, the law, and the number of those calling, that is to say, sometimes the resistance of the call. 3. Internal questions in the council are determined. These are the prominent duties of the council. They are, if in any doubt, able to contact the 24 who then offer consensus judgment thinking to the council. The council then may reconsider any question. In session 6, Don Elkins asked Ra, where is this council located? Ra says, this council is located in the octave or 8th dimension of the planet Saturn, taking place in an area which you understand in third dimensional terms as the rings. Okay, so let's take a step back and go over some of the terms that Ra is using here. If you've never read the Law of One material, it can seem overly complex and hard to understand when you first go through it. So I'm going to go through a few key terms that Ra just mentioned in the excerpts I read. And again, hopefully this will provide some context that will be helpful for you as you go through our session data. So let's first go over the term Law of One. In session 4, Ra says, I am Ra, the law of one, though beyond the limitations of name, as you call vibratory sound complexes. That's Ra's phrase for words, I believe. May be approximated by stating that all things are one, that there is no polarity, no right or wrong, no disharmony, but only identity. All is one, and that one is love light, light love, the infinite creator. So that's one definition that Ra gives for the law of one. Another term that came up in the excerpts I read was confederation. Let's try to get a better idea of what Ra is talking about there. In session 6, Dawn asks, do any of the UFOs that are presently reported come from other planets here at this time, or do you have this knowledge? And Ra says, I am one of the members of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the infinite creator. There are approximately 53 civilizations comprising approximately 500 planetary consciousness complexes in this confederation. This confederation contains those from your own planet who have attained dimensions beyond your third. It contains planetary entities within your solar system, and it contains planetary entities from other galaxies. It is a true confederation in that its members are not alike, but allied in service according to the law of one. Another term that comes up a lot in the law of one material is the word density. It also comes up in our session data. I believe Ra uses the term dimension interchangeably with the word density. In session 16, Dawn asked Ra, could you define the word density as we have been using it to give us a little greater idea of the concept of this term when used by you? And Ra says the term density is a what you would call mathematical one. The closest analogy is that of music, whereby after 7 notes on your Western type of scale, if you will, the 8th note begins a new octave. Within your great octave of existence, which we share with you, there are 7 octaves or densities. Within each density, there are 7 subdensities. Within each subdensity, there are 7 sub-subdensities, and so on infinitely. So as I understand it from reading the law material, we are said to be in a 3rd density existence as a human race, quickly going into 4th. Ra, I believe, is a 6th density going into 7th. And it sounds like the Council of 9 is an 8th density group of beings. If you recall earlier, when Ra was giving the location of the council, they said they were located in the octave or 8th dimension of the planet Saturn in the rings of Saturn. So it sounds like the Council of 9 are 8th density beings, but you could possibly say they are 1st density beings of the next octave above the octave that we currently exist in with Ra and other life forms. So another term that comes up in the excerpts I read is social memory complex. And as I understand it, I believe that's Ra's term for a planetary race that has graduated as a group from 3rd density to 4th density. And when this occurs, the race forms a kind of a group mind, and all are united towards a common purpose. So we are not yet a social memory complex. Ra being a 6th density group of beings that is a social memory complex. They've probably been a social memory complex for quite a long time. Another concept that came up in the excerpts that I read was the idea that the Council of 9 approves interactions with Earth. So if you are a social memory complex like Ra, and you want to interact with Earth in some manner to help in the spiritual evolution of humanity, you first need to put your plans before the council and get them approved. And Ra talks about that process that they went through and their interactions with us, and other social memory complexes. And apparently, just because the council approves the plans does not mean that they actually go according to plan or have the desired impact. Ra talks quite a bit about their visit to Egypt, and they are said to have interacted with us, and it seems to have caused more difficulty than help during that interaction. And they say that one of the reasons they continue to interact with us is to try to correct the mistakes or the misinterpretations that were made regarding their message when they first originally interacted with us. So that's a little bit of a breakdown about some of the terms used in the Law of One material that appear to come up in our session data as well regarding the Council of Nine. If you want to look more into what the Law of One material says about the Council of Nine, you can just go to lawofone.info and search for Council of Nine or Council of Saturn, and you'll see excerpts there. And of course, llresearch.org is where you can get all of the Law of One material in different formats. All right, let's go ahead and get into the main themes that came up in our remote viewing data for this project. Before I do, I want to let you know that I regard this remote viewing project as I regard all remote viewing projects as a consciousness experiment. So please take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Getting into the data, surprisingly to me, nearly all of the viewers describe what appears to be genetic enhancement of DNA. There is a group of life forms described as Neanderthals, and a second group, a higher intelligence, described as technical engineers. These technical engineers perform genetic modifications on these primitive life forms, assisting them in becoming more evolved. These technical engineers are trying to implement intentional, helpful, enlightening change. The word gentrification is used. But for this more primitive second group, these activities related to the seeding of new life and rebirth feels invasive, not natural. There is also data indicating examination and experimentation on test subjects and the engineering, programming, and storage of bodies to be used for some type of future event. There are multiple attempts at these activities, and they fail many times, but each time refining to a better solution to balance force ratios within the cosmos from a distant point in time and space. Life is being seeded everywhere, creating opportunities for evolution. There is a higher intelligence in our data that is described as a group or council who are like priests, wise, somber, serious, and rigorous towards their duties. They are described as giant-like, large, tall, golden ones on another plane of existence and time. This group may be in charge of keeping the rhythm of cycles and may be involved in healing, guarding, and willing existence into being. They organize, mentor, and guide in a state of silent, dense love. They are described as a collective group of overseers existing in a realm of consciousness without form, and a place where energy consciousness can communicate. One of our remote viewers writes, "This feels like a loose, connected group of differing forms/life, like a working group, council, or similar. Naming it doesn't feel important. It's the overall plan, which feels like growth, acceptance, belonging, a community effort. This feels like a softly guiding force in all we do." This group is described as a calm, peaceful, loving, kind, tiered, organized society. They are scientific, communal, enhanced, chosen, wise wanderers. Overall, the primary purpose of this group of beings seems to be assisting in the evolution of life, which has a spiritual evolution component that is communicated via hidden knowledge. This hidden path has hints everywhere and is a progressive step process of enlightenment, a realization of universal love. There were several themes involving movement in our sessions. At least 2 viewers perceived an object that they thought could be a spacecraft moving through space. One viewer describes a movement of a population from one planet to another a long time ago. This movement involved traveling through the stars, tunneling into land, and the moving between densities. 2 viewers perceived an enclosed, otherworldly object with strong energetic properties that was being moved and protected, being hidden in plain sight. The object could be dangerous if misused and appeared to have some type of artificial consciousness that could communicate. 2 viewers describe a downwards movement of energy through a structure and into an individual or individuals. This energy is loaded with data, like an information download, and causes a life-changing transformational experience. 2 viewers describe a powerful planetary energy radiating from one location and directed to another. This energy is scary, possibly destructive, but important for growth. It is experienced as healing, white, radiating energy, beautiful, loving, kind, compassionate, a gift. One viewer describes moving energetics as light, moving through space, touching everything it encounters, never stopping. 2 viewers perceived a rotating tube-like or drill-like object with tiers and levels, spinning, boring, or drilling. One viewer connects this to the concept of movement through time and space. Multiple viewers picked up on repeating cycles of creation and destruction, of thriving and decline, and the idea of consciousness layers, step sequences, and dimensions. Evolutionary transformative processes involving the term harvesting comes up in the sessions. One viewer writes, "This is species-wide the growing of a crop, but that crop is a civilization, an emergence, gratitude, coming into one's own as a collective, a joining or conjoining, becoming members of a society, a new connection. This is the gift, but the price is the death of the old to birth the new." And as we draw this introductory video to a close, you can see 6 screenshots of the one-on-one interviews I did with each of the remote viewers as they went through their remote viewing data in its entirety. And again, you can find these videos linked below this video in the video's description. That's all for now. We hope that you join us again for another Hellfire Remote Viewing Club project. Until then, be well.